In today's video, I am going to be breaking down Jared McCain. This is a video that has been requested a lot, so let's get down and let's check out his shooting form. This is a big up-and-coming player who is currently a high school player. Okay, so first off, he has a very huge range that he can shoot from. In fact, this is well beyond the NBA range, so let's really break down this first clip. What are some of the things that really stand out about Jared McCain? When he first receives this ball, he's automatically looking at the rim. He already knew what he was about to do. He noticed that he had a lot of distance between himself and his defender, in which case he can pull off a shot. That is number one. He does have a slight dip. He dips it down to about his waist, and there's a few other things that we do notice. When it comes to his alignment, his feet are not in line. It doesn't necessarily mean that his feet need to be in line with the basket, but what I'm saying is that they should be both generally pointing the exact same direction. Same as his knees, they are slightly off, and his hips are going to be also slightly off from the rest of his body as well. His shoulders are actually a little bit more straighter than his hips towards the basket, and I'm not saying that that has to be a fact, but generally speaking, you want to have everything in the exact same in alignment, whether it's tilted away from the basket or not. You want everything in line. He also has 90 degrees on his knees and roughly 90 on his hips, which will give him the power needed to be able to shoot from this distance. He brings that ball up the right side of his body, which is slightly different than most one-motion shooters, because most one-motion shooters will shoot from the middle of their forehead and bring the ball up the middle of their body. However, he shoots from the right side of his forehead, which is a low set point, but a nice high release. At least his elbow is at or above his forehead, which is very important. He has zero thumb flick as well, and when we look for the energy transfer, the ball starts to rise up to release as soon as he leaves the ground. This is great energy transfer from his legs up into his shot, which will give him that range needed. He has a soft release like Steph Curry, which gives him a lot of arc, and he has some pretty good backspin as well. You generally want to have at least 2.5 rotations, and when we're going through this, that's one full rotation, and that's about two, maybe a 2.25 full rotations from that distance. Maybe a little bit more backwards rotation on the ball is needed for him to be an even more consistent shot. However, he already has a good shot as it is. When he goes up into his set point, we can see that his shoulder and elbow are also in line with the rim, which is important, and at least half of that ball is over top of that upper arm / shoulder / elbow, which will give him that shooting triangle that I always preach. You want everything in line. You want that ball generally over top of the upper arm or elbow, and you want that shoulder and elbow in line with the rim, which will give you that alignment needed for that release and for a consistent shot. Do we see his shoulder dip back while he's shooting? We do not, which is fantastic. You don't want to have any extra rotation in your shot. And then the next thing that we want to look at is, does he have any sway when it comes to his legs? And he does have maybe a couple of inches of sway forward, which means that his shoulders will also go back together a few inches as well, which will give him even more power to get that ball to the rim. We can also see from this angle where his guide hand is, and his guide hand is actually in a different location than you would normally see. It's closer to the top ball, and generally speaking, you want it a little bit more towards the side of the ball. However, it's only about an inch or maybe an inch and a half or higher than what most shooting coaches might say. So, in my opinion, he has a knockdown shot as it is, and he's not using his thumb either, so in my opinion, he really only has to work on a few things to be even more consistent. When he's jumping or at least dribbling into his shot, here we see a quick hop step in left right. We can see that he gets extremely low on his shot, and that could actually slow down his shot that could get blocked at a higher level. And we can see here that, in my opinion, that offhand right there is actually in a pretty good position. Some coaches may say that it is a bit too high. In my opinion, it's not that bad. You generally don't want to have your wrist bent on your off arm. However, he has a consistent enough shot as it is that I wouldn't be too concerned. He also has a little bit of a gap between his palm and the ball. The ball seems to sit on the side of his palm, which is totally fine. That is what some people may say he's a palm shooter, but in my opinion, he is not. He has the middle of his palm off that ball. He is, of course, using his left eye generally to shoot, and we can see that he releases from what looks to be roughly all three fingers, and in my opinion would make it the middle finger because it's the longest finger on the hand. And he has that nice straight release as well. He extends fully the elbow, which is what you want. Off arm or guide hand comes off the ball. Overall, very good shooting form. The only thing I would really say is the fact that he gets so low and spreads his feet so wide will tell me that at a higher level he will have a higher chance of getting blocked, which could be a possibility. So I would generally start maybe working on maybe getting onto his toes a little bit more on his shot, which will get him that power that is needed, and having maybe even a higher release than he has right here. He has about a 45-degree angle on his shoulder when he releases. Maybe a little bit higher will give him a little bit more arc, and potentially a little bit more palm on the ball could give him a little bit more rotation on that ball as well. However, again, still has a very good shot. Overall, Jared McCain has a very good shooting form. He doesn't have much wrong with it at all, in my opinion. There are a few things, of course, that he could work on to have an even more consistent shot. Remember, nothing's ever perfect. So anyways, I hope that this video has helped you shoot the basketball better as well. If it has, make sure to go check out down in the description below that I can break down your shooting form as well and give you some drills to be able to improve your shot. I'll see you guys again in my next video.